breakfast after a couple of months off, and I can't think of a better topic than education, as we have just kicked off another school year here in Houston County. And when you think about Houston County and all of its many attributes, the one that always comes up is our school system. And that's not without strong leadership. And so at this time, I would like to call up our Dr. Mark Scott, Superintendent of Schools for Houston County, and April Bragg, our CEO of the Robbins Regional Chamber of Commerce, to moderate today's discussion.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. She said I muted it and I didn't press the button. So we are excited to have you here today. We're down 2 microphones, so hopefully that also means we'll be down with the extra frequencies we had at our housing outlook. But as Sarah said, I'm always excited as well to have this program coming off of a couple of summer months and following the incredible opening session that the school board has every year. I was out with laryngitis, but I watched online, and watching the comments come in just in support of our school, we truly have an amazing resource here. And Dr. Scott, it's an honor to have you here today. I know you've got some special folks you want to introduce, so we'll kick off with those.
Yeah, thank you for having us here today. We always appreciate the Chamber of Commerce and the support of our community. You all have heard me say many times that we're very fortunate to live in a community that loves and supports public education. So for that, I say thank you. I also just want to recognize our awesome board members here today. Our board chair, Helen Hughes, then also our vice chair, Dr. Rick Unruh, and then board member Lori Johnson, board member Brian Upshaw, and board member Dave Crockett. They do an outstanding job of supporting our teachers. You've also probably heard me say before that we have 2 types of employees, those that teach and those that support teachers, and it's our role, myself, my cabinet, and the board members, to support our teachers, and they take that responsibility serious. So I just want to publicly say thank you to them for their support and just really the focus on what's right for children. And in our business, if you stay focused on what's right for children, you always come out on the good end. So also with us, executive cabinet, first our deputy superintendent, Dr. Richard Rogers, and then assistant superintendent, Dr. Chris Brown, assistant superintendent, Dr. Cheryl Thomas, and assistant superintendent, Dr. Sabrina Kennedy, assistant superintendent, Dr. Elgin Mayfield, and then assistant superintendent, Dr. Lasagna Frierson, and we would appreciate them. We also have at the table executive director, Dr. Walter Stevens, and then our CFO, Michelle Morris, who does an outstanding job, and then Jennifer Jones is hanging out over here, and we appreciate so much what Jennifer does. Speaking of the opening session, she's the mastermind behind that event, and each year they do not disappoint in what they bring and how they engage the teachers and the students. It's really like a big pep rally for the start of the school year. But we're just very fortunate to be here in this community, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, awesome. Well, speaking of opening session, the theme not only for that event but for the whole year for 2023-24 is continuously growing. And you can't look around in this community and not see that we are continuously growing. But if you can just share with us specifically what that means and why y'all chose that theme.
Yeah, well, we're in the process, and you see on the tables that we have revised our strategic plan, and we really are focusing on our mission and vision and our beliefs. And one of the things that we tweaked was our mission, and we really feel like that our mission was to produce high achievement for all through continuous growth, and really having that growth mindset across the district. And last year we had the mantra that here we grow, and our schools really embraced that. They made it part of the work that they did on a daily basis, and we felt like that we could continue that work by aligning that mantra with our mission statement, and really continuing to work toward taking students wherever they come to us at, whatever they are in need of, that we take them and grow them from where they are. And so I think it's more about not making excuses for students, but really figuring out what they need and then providing that support. Then from a physical standpoint, we continue to grow. We expect our enrollment to hit the 31,000 mark this year. Last year we grew 389 students from the 10th day of school to the October count, which is our official count. Over the last 2 years combined, we had a 950 student growth, which is a small, not really a small school, it's a school. And so we continue to grow, and our staff members do a great job at working through those projections, and really Dr. Brown and his team in HR really have done an outstanding job of making the projections for the schools, because it's not as simple as you would think in making sure that we have teachers here. And so we make adjustments on the 10th day of school to make sure that we can reduce class size. And I know that Chris reported to me yesterday that some of the new positions that were added to accommodate that new growth, that we had already filled those positions. So we're very fortunate. People want to be here in Houston County, and that helps us with teacher recruitment. We're not seeing the kinds of recruitment issues that other districts are seeing overall, but it's still more difficult than it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago we had 100 applicants for an elementary vacancy, and that just doesn't happen anymore. So growing all the way around, and I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk about some of our projects later on.
Absolutely. And so speaking of projects, I know that we've got the East Lost is one of the tools that you guys use in order to fund a number of things to accommodate our growth. And so everyone's always excited to hear about construction projects. Chairman Stalnaker can tell you that's always everybody's favorite thing to hear updates on in this forum. And so if you could just give us a recap of the major projects you've recently completed and those that are on the horizon.
Yes, and first of all, I just want to say thank you to the community for your support of the East Bloss. This East Bloss passed with the highest percentage of approval that we've ever had with the Education East Bloss, and so we were very appreciative of that support. And we are a growing school system. We're the 12th largest district in the state of Georgia, and you really look at the metro Atlanta area, and then you look at Savannah, and then us. And so we've surpassed the Augusta, Columbus area school districts and just continue to grow. And so with that comes needs for new classrooms, and we were able to open up Langston Road Primary School in August, and I guess we're still in August, right? It's been a long month. But you know, we were able to open that school, and thank you to Paris Construction. There's our construction manager for that job. And you know, the times that we live in today, it's supply chain issues. There's you know, just all kinds of issues when it comes to construction, but they always work very hard to make sure that we meet and are able to hold up what we promised to the community. And so it's a joint effort, but we're just really proud to get that school online, because it does give our largest elementary school some relief. That area is continuing to grow, so we're proud to get that school open, and we've really gotten a jump start on that Matt Arthur Primary out on Talton Road, and we're further ahead on that project than we were on Langston Road. So maybe everything will go well, and we will be moving into that facility in August of 2024. We also have completed lots of renovation projects, and we, you know, are blessed in some ways that we're growing and building new facilities, but we also have some older facilities, and our maintenance and facility staff do a great job of maintaining those facilities. And this summer we were able to do renovations on 3 of those schools with Miller, Parkwood, and Shirley Hills Elementary. If I recall right, Miller was built in 1956, and I think Shirley Hills and Parkwood built about the same time in the 63-64 time frame. And so those buildings have got some age on them, and haven't been renovated in 23, 24 years. So it was time to do some renovations, and the scope of those renovations are much different. When you have a school that's 20 years old, and you do a renovation, it's a little different than when you have a school that's 60 years old and you do a renovation. And so those are very extensive projects, approximately $4 million per project. And so just really trying to make sure that we continue well into the future with having a clean, safe environment for students to attend school in. And so those projects were certainly something that we were proud of. And I said last year at this event that I wouldn't recommend remodeling 3 large middle schools and elementary school in one summer, and I now say that I don't recommend 3 elementary extensive renovations because we were right down to the wire on those projects as well. But the staff, the students, everybody really excited because the quality of the lighting, and you just don't realize when you go in and make those changes, the differences that you're making in the environment that students learning in. And then we also had parking lot projects this summer, and we continue to work on that. And you know, it's one of those things where we continue to grow, but our bus transportation or participation in bus transportation stays right around that 14,500 students that ride the bus. And so you kind of do the math and you realize that about half the students are being taken to school by car. And so that presents challenges in and of itself, and so we were very happy to do some parking lot projects, and we were able to complete those at David Perdue Elementary, Lake Joy Elementary, and Lake Joy Primary, and then at Bonaire Middle, Fagan Mill Middle, and Perry Middle. And so we just really, in a way, we're just trying to balance those projects and make sure that we're able to deliver everything that we promised the community that we would deliver. And speaking of that, I would say that this year, or this cycle of the East Bloss has probably been one of the most challenging with regard to inflation. So just to give you an example of that, we thought we were really setting aside a really good budget for the 2 primary schools at $24 million. We had built the same school for about $18 million and thought we were in really good shape. The first one, Langston Road, we were at about $27,700,000, and we're projected to be at about $32 million on Matt Arthur Primary. So just tremendous increase in cost, you know, and some of that, you know, each project's a little different, so it's not comparing apples to apples always, because your site development and some of the other things, you know, can cost more. So those projects, the Matt Arthur Primary, that site's a little more challenging than the Langston Road project was, but there's still some inflation in there. And so we just really have to be very careful to make sure that we're able to move into the next cycle for our East Bloss with our other big projects. And speaking of those big projects, the middle school is in the design phase. We are moving to a new design. We really think that the design that we have now, that has courtyard spaces that are very difficult to maintain, that really are a waste of land, and land's expensive, as you all know. And so we're just trying to be more efficient with that, and we're going to a new design, and we've had a design committee working on that for quite some time. And so we're proud to be getting close to having you know, a drawing of the basic design there for the middle school, and so that still is in the works. And then a performing arts center that would be located next to the Tommy Stonecker Aquatic Center. And we're also very excited to have been the fiscal agent for that, and thank you to the counties and the 3 municipalities for their support on the swim facility. We were over there yesterday, and the pool deck is poured, and they're laying tile in the lobby this week, and so it really is starting to come together, and we're looking for that facility to be ready to turn over to us in late fall. So excited about that. I know I've talked to a lot of community members that said, you know, I never thought I'd live long enough to see a swim facility in Houston County, and I know Ms. Hughes is shaking her head because she's talked to me many times about the need for a swim facility, and she was a swim parent, and so it's just quality of life, and we're very excited for that project to come on, and thank you for the partnerships that we have with our other government agencies that we're able to accomplish that.
Absolutely, and we'll hear more about the Performing Arts Center at our next Eggs and Issues. Next month, y'all can join us. Our theme was already set for livability, but we're going to talk about the Houston County SPLOST, and a number of collaborative efforts that are going to be included in that. So looking forward to that, and that really kind of leads into, you know, when you talk about the different developments that you guys have, I really am surprised we didn't get just overwhelming thunderous applause with the Lake Joy parking, just from what we hear in the community about traffic on Lake Joy. But it takes a tremendous amount of foresight, planning, and strategy, Dr. Scott, to really identify the areas that we're going to need, you know, new facilities, looking to making sure that we have the resources necessary, and then of course all the other things that go into teaching and learning. So you mentioned the strategic plan earlier. In fact, there's a copy in front of everybody there. So if you can tell us a little bit about what's inside so people can get an idea of the scope of the work that y'all are planning.
Well, first of all, I will say to you, don't get up and leave because we said strategic plan. It's not everybody's favorite topic to talk about.
I love it.
So really, I just, you know, for the document that we have, really we talk about the 4 buckets that we're really working toward improving our district and making sure that we're being successful. And our process is probably the most important piece of this strategic plan. Is we were using some methods where we were going in kind of doing a green light, red light kind of thing. And every year, everything on our list was green. And so I questioned that as to say, are we being very strategic with our goals if every time everything on our list is green? We're not really challenging ourselves. So that was the challenge in the beginning, was to make sure that going forward that we were moving from better to best, and that we want to make sure that we're addressing every student where they are, and it's really, our strategic plan is really about delivering the very best, what we refer to as Tier 1 instruction, which is just good classroom instruction to every student. And so that's really the basis for our strategic plan. And we put in those buckets of student achievement and organizational effectiveness, and looking at student stakeholder engagement and just growth as a whole, with not only for our students but for our adults as well. But when we look at our strategic plan, we look at it through the lens of how can we get better? How can we be better next year than we were the prior year? And so this document is just something that we wanted to communicate to the public, that these are the things that we're focusing on, and I think it references in there the link to our full strategic plan, and then each one of our schools also work toward goals that help them individually to meet their goals and to achieve what they set out to achieve. And one other thing that I would like to share with you is, I've been in the school business a long time, and I've seen school improvement, and I feel like that we have moved in the right direction as far as holding our schools accountable. And I introduced the executive team to you, and we've divided up into pairs, and so we have 2 of the executive cabinet that are assigned to every school in the system, has someone assigned to them, and we go in and support those schools. We often encourage those principals not to let the teachers know that we're coming, because we want to see what happens every day. We don't want to see what we refer to as a dog and pony show, kind of thing. So we want to go in, we want to see what's really happening, and then we want to have those crucial conversations about what we see. We want to be honest, and when I talk about good Tier 1 instruction, there's a book out there that is named Focus, and in Focus it talks about doing what we know is right, and oftentimes we know that what we're seeing in the classroom is not right, but we don't address it because of the human nature of not being confrontational. And so we just think that we have to strike a balance with that, hold our teachers accountable, and we're very proud of the fact that our board has supported increasing the salaries for teachers, and our salary for teachers is over $48,500 for a first-year teacher, and we're proud of that, but we ask them to work really hard for that.
Absolutely.
So in addition to the strategic plan, y'all have also included a copy of your legislative priorities on the table, which I think is so important. We'll be approaching the new session in January as our state legislature kicks up. But if you can really just share with us how the business community can help reinforce these priorities for you.
Well, one of the things that I really truly believe is if you're going to have a successful community, you've got to have a successful public school system. And you can look all over the state, all over the country, and those two things go hand in hand. I think we're very fortunate that we are in a community that has a strong public school system because of the work that's been done over many, many years. And really, we believe that tax dollars shouldn't go to for school choice. And I'll tell you a little bit more why I think that. Right now, we send about $150 million in state tax dollars to private schools with just not a whole lot of accountability. Most of us would expect if we give that kind of money, there would be some accountability. And there's no magic, thing that says if you're a public school, you should have a long list of accountability measures, but if you're a private school, you get a pass because you got the word private in front of your name. So I feel very strongly about that. That's one of those things that I think if you're in communities where they really struggle to fund education and to really not have an economy of scale. I mean, there's something to be said about having a larger school district because we were talking before the meeting today that even a small school district has to turn in the same reports that a large district. And we're very fortunate that we have different people to do those reports. In a lot of systems, the same person is doing every one of those reports. And so it's just a challenge, and I just am afraid that school districts that are already struggling will be even more challenged if we keep redirecting funds. And I know, and I'm certainly don't want to be adversarial because I think we have a great delegation, but I think education and communication is key because we've got an education funding formula that was created in the 80s, and I'll give you a couple examples. We earn a secretary for the board office and a secretary for schools based on the number of students that's enrolled in their schools, and we get $14,449 for that secretary. I don't know if you've hired any secretaries lately, but that's the total funding for that person. Their insurance starting this year is $14,340 is my cost, or our school system's cost for that person. So not very much money left over. Probably some accountants in the room. We get a 10-month accountant. Now we earn one accountant in 10 months. $21,000 is what we earn for an accountant. And so the formula for certain things have not changed over the 40 years that the QBE has been in place. So kind of got off on a soapbox there a little bit, but the funding and salary, that's what we're talking about with salary. Teachers are the only state employees in the state of Georgia that Social Security is not funded for. So Social Security is not funded for any teachers in the state of Georgia. We receive $0. In Houston County, we're very fortunate that a long time ago our county decided that we would contribute to Social Security on behalf of our employees. And so right off the top, we pay an extra 6.2% in salaries for any of our employees because we do pay into Social Security, which is a great benefit for them in retirement. And earlier I mentioned recruitment and retention, and salary is a big part of that, but we also have issues where when you have over 2,300 certified employees in your school district, then you're going to have people that have surgery, people that have babies. There's all kinds of things that cause for us to have a need for a teacher in the classroom, and so we really want to see an expansion of the return to work Education is a area where we recruit other professions to come into our profession as retirees and go to work, but we really restrict our own teachers from coming back and working, and so we really would like to see an expansion of that. And I mean, there's all kinds of priorities that you could have. There's a long list, and I know that that's the same with any industry. There's a lot of things that you could focus on, but really the recruitment, retention, the pay, and then just looking at that formula. And the last thing that I'll mention in regard to the funding formula that we receive is that there be a line item for safety. That's on everybody's mind. Currently, our local tax dollars are going to pay for 22 school resource officers across our school district, and so we get $0. We have gotten on 2 occasions we've gotten grants for safety, and those grants have been restricted so that you cannot spend them on people. So we can't use that money to help support our SRO program. We have to use it on other items, and we've been very fortunate that we had needs across our district that we were able to spend those funds on. But safety is one thing that really should be a line item, a per pupil item. We've seen the allocations per school, and when you look at a per school need, it's very different for every school district. So we've got almost 10,000 more students than Bibb County, and they have about the same number of schools that we have. So obviously they got a lot less students in each one of those schools. And so they get the same safety money because it's allocated based on each school that we get for 10,000 more students. And so just some challenges as all of your businesses, the intricate details of our funding formula and all that is probably a boring topic to you, but something that we really are passionate about trying to improve and do a better job with.
Well, staying on a boring topic, why not? How can is there active legislation? Is it just a matter of, sharing these concerns with our legislative delegation and others? Is there a study committee? Tell us what we can do to help advance this.
Well, with the return to work, our delegation has been very supportive of that, and really Shaw and Larry led that work to really get the bill introduced. We were able to get our foot in the door, and so right now you're able to return to work in certain areas based on where vacancies are in critical areas, and my response to that has always been a critical area is where I don't have a teacher. So if there's not teachers standing, a qualified, certified teacher standing in front of students, then that's a critical area. So that's really what it's about, and I think that as a group, as a whole, the General Assembly felt like that there was going to be a landslide of people to take advantage of it, and that's not what they've seen across the whole state. I think there's only been a couple hundred teachers to take advantage of that, and they're reporting thousands of vacancies across the state. So that's one area that our delegation has been strong on, but we want them to continue to support. We've not received the support we would like on the school choice issue, and it's kind of a party issue with not to get into the politics of it, but we just feel, and oftentimes we're told that you've got a good school district. It's different for other places, but I mentor other superintendents because I'm old, and
because you're good.
but oftentimes, I see the school districts and see a district that only has 1,000 students, and if they lose 3 kids per grade level, it doesn't change the need for teachers, but they've lost the funding for 36 kids if you look across 12 grades, and so. In a lot of those school districts, there is no resource. A meal's not worth what a meal's worth in Houston County, and to raise that money locally is almost impossible. And your light bill doesn't change. The fuel that goes in the bus doesn't change because there's 3 less kids or 36 less kids riding the bus. your fixed costs stay the same and your funding goes down. And so it's just a challenge when you get into the weeds, and we just advocate for, giving appropriate funding for public schools and making sure that going forward we are doing the right thing. And one of the things that has come about is that a lot of the school districts, because of the federal funding, have a fund balance. And so the fund balance issue has come up across the state and saying, well, when you collectively add all this up, y'all got all this money that's sitting in fund balance. Well, back during the recession in 2008, I sat across the table from employees that we had to let go. And so you just want to make sure that you never go back there. And Helen would agree with that. But it's just one of those things that the fund balance, but it'd be like telling one of your employees, we're going to cut your salary because you've got too much in your savings account. And I realize that we're a little different when you're talking about taxpayers' dollars, but really when you look at our fund balance, we're about 2.5 months from not being able to make payroll with fund balance. And so by state law, we're not allowed to have more than 15% of our general fund budget. So if you can't have a fund balance more than 15% without having an audit finding. So you're kind of restricted both ways.
I did not realize that. I think there's a lot of shocked faces in the room that you're restricted in that way. So we just had our youth leadership kickoff this past Monday, where we bring 24, 25 high school juniors into a year-long leadership program, helping them to develop individual leadership skills, as well as, acclimating them to opportunities in the community, not only to learn how our community works, but also because they are potentially our future workforce and leaders. And that workforce angle is why the Chamber is so involved in education. It's why we continue to work, hand in hand with our school district and our development partners on that particular issue. So it's obviously workforce development is vitally important to thriving communities. Can you share with us how the school district is helping to train our future workforce?
Well, we're very fortunate to have some outstanding partners, not only in the educational institutions, but employers throughout our community work with us to provide internships, provide youth apprenticeship placements. So we're very fortunate in that way that we have a community that allows us to have them help us to develop the work skills that we need in the future. And something that I'd really like to share with everyone is that we had an initiative that we refer to as the Power of 15. And we went to Dr. Allen with the Central Georgia Tech with our initiative, and we started working with him. And thankfully, starting on August the 1st, that moved to the Power of 18. And what the Power of 18 is every one of our students has the opportunity to get 18 college credits without leaving their high school, without going anywhere, and to leave high school with 18 college credits. A lot of times these are students that would not have otherwise felt like they could go to college, or that they were smart enough to go to college, or they had the resources to go to college. So it really gives them a foundation to start the next step. So we're just very appreciative to Dr. Allen. Central Georgia Tech is the largest dual enrollment school in the state of Georgia. Pasco County has more dual enrollment participation in the school district than any other district in the state of Georgia. And so we're very proud of that, but we're also proud of the partnerships that we have with our Career Academy and the job that they do, and thank you to the Career Academy board that many of you serve on. And we're just so appreciative of the work. And Sherry Johnson has come in over there, and we're seeing our numbers continue to rise. We're just under 1,000 students participating at the Career Academy, and we have a wide variety of programs at the Career Academy: welding, HVAC, industrial maintenance, barber, cosmetology, health sciences, and I'm probably leaving out woodworking. There's a lot of programs over there for students interested. And then we have the partnerships with Middle Georgia State, with the Synergy Center and the Air Force Base, and thank you to Robbins Air Force Base for their support in that project. And then we also have Robbins North and Central Georgia Technical College partnership there. Just really a lot of people that are invested in developing the workforce for the future, and our students are the benefactors of those partnerships and the work that goes on across our community. So we're very proud of that, and we're still looking to expand. I know Sandy Couilliard's here. She was a teacher for me when I was principal at Northside, and I know that she does an outstanding job, and she's our youth apprenticeship coordinator. So if anybody's interested in placing students at your place of business in a youth apprenticeship placement, then Sandy will be glad to talk to you. She's sitting right over there at that table. Wave at them, Sandy.
Well, and our adult leadership class just went 2 days ago, yes, to the College and Career Academy, and the feedback was overwhelming. They were blown away. Can you share, I think there might be some misperceptions about the students that go there, and if it's a separate school, and kind of how that works, and then the certificate program, I think is really cool, the way that you equip them directly for the workforce.
Yes, so the Career Academy is a program, and so the student remains a student at their home school. They can still participate in all the activities at their home school, and many of the students ride a transit bus from their school to that location, and they're there for a block of time, which is equivalent to 2 periods at their home school, and then they are able to go back to their home school. And there's just lots of options for students now, and Central Georgia Tech has really been a leader in the state of Georgia with opportunities for students, even students that maybe have not been successful in a traditional high school program, to allow those students to get into a certificate program. Welding, for example, is one of those programs. A student can complete their academic requirements up through the 10th grade, and then they can switch over and actually complete the requirements for the welding program or for one of the other certificate programs, and they receive a high school diploma just like any other student. And it's really, and I won't get into all the details of the whole diploma project that started many years ago, but as a CTA teacher, I say in my belief that we went in the wrong direction years ago, and we're bringing that focus back finally on Career Tech, and really does a student need to take a calculus class if that's not what the profession they're going into requires them to have? And should we hold students back that have no interest in calculus from graduating high school and going on into the workforce? And in my opinion, no, we shouldn't. So.
Yeah. Well, and just to reiterate that, I know like the food service program, for example, those kids graduate from high school and also have their Safe Serve certificate that makes them not only immediately employable, but it makes them immediately a priority because we hear those needs in the business community to have the kids who pass whatever certifications are required for their particular area of focus. So, I mean, again, it's another area where our school district goes above and beyond every single time. So that's the last formal question I had. I know you mentioned a little bit about work-based learning opportunities with Sandy. Is there anything else that we haven't covered? We kind of sped through a lot of topics here.
Well, again, we're just appreciative of the support that we receive, and our board members, I often tell them that normally you all call them instead of me when something goes wrong, and usually it's my fault that it goes wrong. So I appreciate you calling them. No, I'm just kidding. but no, they are servant leaders in our community, and I think our approach to when we do have something that doesn't go right, or we have a complaint from a citizen, we kind of approach that from the standpoint that if your citizens were not complaining, would you be in the kind of community you wanted to be in? So I do believe that we have a community that has high expectations for our school district. We are up to the challenge for that, and we appreciate the support that we have. Again, our government entities are always very supportive. We've got a cooperative community, and we're just like a family. We're going to have issues. We're going to have hiccups, but we've got to just keep the main thing, and make sure that we're focused on what's right for children. And I think with that we'll be successful. And it's a time of year when I told somebody yesterday that it's been hot. The grass is growing fast. The air conditioners are breaking down even faster. So August has been a long month, but I wouldn't want to do the work with anybody else other than the team that we have.
That's amazing, and you've got a fantastic team. Dr. Scott, thank you for spending time with us, and thank you for the accessibility. He mentioned that people will pick up the phone and call a board member. In the 12th largest school district in the state, I dare say a lot of those in our peer group don't have the same level of access we have to our superintendent, to our school board. Brian was on the roof of the chamber just a couple of days ago. They work in our community. So this is not, being a school board member is not their full-time job. But they're at everything, they're supportive, they're very engaged. Executive cabinet, and all of the administrative team is very accessible, very driven to finding solutions for the greater good, and I couldn't be more proud. We say all the time, the school system is what brought us to Houston County, and we hear very often that it's what brings a lot of people here, and I just want to thank y'all for everything that y'all do to invest in our workforce of tomorrow. So please join me in thanking Dr. Scott. And I'm going to wrap up with a couple of announcements, and I'm going to put her on the spot and ask Deborah Cox if she'll come forward. So once again, thank you all for being here. As I mentioned earlier, our next Eggs and Issues breakfast will be in September. We will be speaking with Chairman Perdue and our mayors and Dr. Scott about the projects on the upcoming SPLOST vote. I encourage you all to be here. So we live in a community that supports the SPLOST, that supports the East SPLOST. Our chamber board voted to take a supporting position of the upcoming SPLOST at our recent meeting, but it is critical that we help to educate our community on the importance of that. So we've got a whole program dedicated to that. Next month, we might even get Chairman Stonemaker to come back for that one, but we just appreciate you all so much. There's a number of opportunities you can engage with us that are listed in the email we send out every Tuesday. If you're not getting that email, please let us know. We'd love to help you, but you may have noticed the display when you got set up. This is something we've been running in the Tuesday email for a couple of weeks now, but every year we partner with the 21st Century Partnership to support the care packages that they coordinate and send over to our active duty troops during the holiday season. Deborah is all set up today to show you the kind of things that they need for those, and then in addition to their office and some other locations around town, this event for now, the next one in October will be a place where you can drop off those donations either from yourself, your family, or your company. So I'm going to ask Deborah to talk about that real quick, and then we will wrap up.
Thank you, April. Thank you everyone for coming out this morning. We have officially kicked off our care packages for our deployed military members at Robins Air Force Base and our young airmen. We were able from this community to receive 423 boxes last year with 72 schools or companies participating in that event. We are very, very excited for this year's campaign as well. Our goal is 600 boxes. That will give every young airman and every deployed member at Robins Air Force Base an actual care package. So we're asking for your care package items to be brought. You can bring them here for Eggs and Issues next month and again in October. In addition to that, we have, this is the 30th year of the partnership. In May, we turned 30, and so we thought it would be a great campaign to ask our communities and surrounding communities of Robins Air Force Base to collect 30,000 letters. We are well on our way to do that. What we want to do is, our base has been a strong economic engine for us here in Warner Robins, and we want to say thank you to every single member out at the base. So 24,000 people, all the extra ones get to go to the deployed members, and that is our goal this year, 30,000 letters, 600 care packages. Thank you very much for your consideration.
All right, so you guys have heard the goal, and most of you in here are folks that don't like to have a goal that is unmet. So we are looking forward to being part of achieving that. In fact, we'll even have stationery on the tables at the next meeting where you can jot a note down while you wait for the program to begin. But as I look across the room, I'd be remiss if I didn't just thank each and every one of you for your continued support of all the great efforts in our community. Like we got to hear from Dr. Scott. Of course, we've got our team from Robbins here, our development partners and municipal leaders, and invested business leaders who care about the future of this community. You care about getting updates on the important work that's being done here, and I couldn't be prouder to live, work, play, and pray in this amazing community. Thank you all for what you do, and we'll see you next time.